My name's Isla, and today I'll be doing a presentation on animal behaviour and welfare. I'll be looking at the animal welfare issues and codes of practice in the UK, also welfare considerations in zoological collections, scientific research and sport, and then concluding with behaviour patterns of 3 different species in the wild and captive settings. Over the past decade, approximately 160 species have been declared extinct by the IUCN. 3 of which are the Pinta Island tortoise, the Bramble Cay melamoys, and the western black rhinoceros. As Buchor states, the IUCN updates its red list several times a year, and in the latest version in 2022, 16,900 animal species were listed as threatened, which is more than double the number of 2007. Some contributing factors are habitat destruction, climate change, pollution, overexploitation, and invasive species being released. Despite challenges and concerning statistics, conservation efforts are aiming to combat extinction and protect animals that are on the verge. Protected areas such as wildlife reserves are being maintained and established to provide safe havens for wildlife to thrive with no human threats. Captive breeding programs also aim to breed endangered species in a secure environment, such as reservations and sanctuaries, for population recovery while protected from threats. Also, public awareness programs aim to educate communities to help foster an understanding and the importance of biodiversity, which helps encourage active participation in conservation efforts. 3 examples of successful captive breeding programs is the Przewozowski's horse, which is the last truly wild horse, and through global breeding programs it helped the population grow to over 2,000, with several hundred living wild in Mongolia. Arabian oryx was declared extinct in the wild in 1972, and global breeding programs helped reintroduce it to the wild with a population of 1,000. And the black-footed ferret, thought extinct, was rediscovered in 1981 and with fewer than 20 individuals created a breeding program with around 300 thriving in the wild today. This highlights the power of human intervention and the collaboration in conservation efforts. Animal welfare issues and codes of practice in the UK. Understanding the 5 welfare needs of animals is that animals have a right to be free from pain, suffering, injury and disease, and they have a right to veterinary care. Dogs, cats and rabbits all have annual checkups to help prevent the spread of disease such as myxomatosis, rabies, FEP, kennel cough. And the environment is that they must have sufficient space to carry out natural behaviours and must have the right enclosure in regards to the materials being used and that they are suitable for the animal to be housed in. Depending on the animal, they may need a paddock, garden or a suitable cage or terrarium which prevents escape or injury. And if this environment is unsuitable, it may cause harm, self-mutilations or pacing. Neglect is where the basic level care is not met. This may be leaving animal for extended periods of time, suffering, which can cause permanent illness or even death, or leaving the animal alone for weeks at a time with no access to food, water, or adequate exercise. This can occur on a large scale, such as in puppy mills, or even neglecting farm animals to reduce their overall cost. Abandonment is where an animal is left in an unfamiliar place with no intention of retrieving the animal. The animal is therefore left to fend for itself with no prior experience, for example leaving rabbits out in the woods as easy prey. Abandoned animals also have less chance of finding a forever home due to a lack of information on the animal. Cruelty is when harm, injury or death is inflicted knowingly and with intent that it will hurt, damage or kill the animal. Examples are hitting, kicking, punching or burning. Neglect also falls into this category, which is knowingly depriving the animal of food, water, shelter, or another basic need that stops it from thriving. The Animal Welfare Act 2006 is the key legislation protecting animal welfare. This replaced the Protection of Animals Act in 1911. This covers all vertebrates, and the 5 freedoms form the basis of this act, which ensures welfare is upkept for the animals. Penalties include an unlimited fine and up to 6 months imprisonment, or if found involved in animal fighting, you can get an unlimited fine and up to 5 years imprisonment. All owners have a duty of care to ensure animal welfare needs are met, and failure results in legal consequences. Cruelty under this law includes, but is not limited to, unnecessary suffering, mutilation such as ear cropping and declawing of cats, tail docking unless specifically permitted, and animal poisoning, which is intentionally leaving out a substance such as antifreeze to poison cats. The Department for Environmental, Food and Rural Affairs plays a role to ensure the welfare and health of livestock in the UK. They have a responsibility to oversee livestock welfare of dairy, eggs and meat production, the movement of cattle, wildlife conservation and the fishing industries. It works using the Animal Welfare Act to ensure all staff are fully trained to work with and handle livestock, and it guarantees compliance with the 5 freedoms. DEFRA enforce codes of practice to maintain welfare standards and ensure all stakeholders follow policies and procedures. The livestock welfare covers laying hens, meat chickens, meat breeding chickens, cattle, pigs and sheep. Specific care are guidelines of care for deer and farmed rabbits. These are not legally binding, but failure to adhere results in repercussions and can be used as evidence in court. Other legislation in the UK are the Welfare of Animals Transport England Order 2006, which ensures the welfare of livestock during transportation. Is to limit the journey length to reduce stress and discomfort, that the animals have regular monitoring, that the animals are fit for transport, and the vehicle is well maintained to avoid risk of injury during loading, unloading and transportation, and that the animals have adequate space to avoid overcrowding. The Breeding and Sale of Dogs Welfare Act in 1999 protects the welfare of breeding dogs. All breeders must have a licence and have been inspected by a local authority figure and a vet. Conditions for the licence is that the female is no younger than 1 year old, she has no more than 6 litters in her life, she only has 1 litter per year, and the accurate records must be kept and produced when asked for. There are 3 bodies that enforce animal welfare. I will cover 2. The animal health inspectors have a duty to uphold the animal welfare. They inspect facilities such as livestock markets and homes and work with vets to ensure welfare standards are met in these facilities. They educate owners and livestock holders to inform on welfare expectations and the best practices. They also will remove and rehome animals where necessary, and they also testify at hearing, giving expert testimony in court proceedings. Local authority inspectors authorise licences to facilities such as catteries and kennels, horse riding facilities, dog breeding and training for exhibitions. They report these licensable activities by providing yearly reports to the Secretary of State. They report the number of licensed activities and the fees charged. Enforcement process gives a thorough and fair approach in upholding animal welfare laws while protecting animals from harm. As DEFRA states, the vast majority of owners and keepers comply with the duty of care. However, there are occasions when sometimes they fail to do so. The responsibility of enforcement bodies to use appropriate enforcement tools to make sure the law is upheld. The impact of animal welfare organisations is growing. The 2 most known are the Wildlife Trust, which was founded in 1957. It has 47 trusts throughout UK, Isle of Man and Alderney. They manage 2,200 nature reserves spanning over 84,000 hectares. With over 900,000 members and 39,000 volunteers, this makes them the largest voluntary organisation in the UK, which demonstrates power of community. They are working to bring wildlife back to the land and sea by actively working on projects to reintroduce species, such as the osprey and beavers. They empower people by offering educational programs, workshops and volunteer opportunities to encourage communities to work in conservation. And they're combating climate change by developing initiative ideas such as planting seagrass meadows which capture carbon and helps protect marine ecosystems. And they have a campaign known as 30 by 30, which is to protect 30% of UK land and sea by 2030. The Animal Welfare Party is a minor UK political party with policies aimed at creating a fairer, more equal and sustainable society. They want to phase out animal testing by funding research into alternatives, such as computer models, tissue cultures and artificial organs to replace animal testing, and work with international bodies to create global standards for alternatives in research. They also want enhanced protection for companion animals with stricter and harsher penalties to help deter cruelty, and tight-line regulations to eradicate overbreeding practices such as unethical puppy mills by implementing mandatory licensing and inspections. They also want to end animal sports and entertainment by running awareness programs that educate the public on the policies and benefits of animal welfare reforms, collaborating with the RSPCA to amplify the impact on animal rights and environmental issues, and advocate to end these practices due to animals being subjected to harm and stress. Welfare considerations in zoos, scientific research, and sport. Welfare in zoos is governed by the Zoo Licensing Act 1981, which is the legislation created to safeguard welfare of animals in zoos. A license is only given if the zoo meets specific criteria, such as supporting global and local conservation efforts to preserve endangered species, to educate the public through educational programs raising awareness about wildlife and importance of conservation, and also that they meet the physical and psychological needs of all the animals in their care. The British and Irish Association of Zoos and Aquariums works with zoos to ensure welfare standards are upheld. They help educate the public to understand biodiversity and its significance. They conduct studies to improve animal care, the welfare and the conservation efforts, and they facilitate ethical transfers between zoos, reservations and sanctuaries to manage the population and breeding programs, ensuring genetic diversity is upheld. Zoos aim to promote balance between communication, education and welfare, creating and designing enclosures to mirror natural habitats, providing water sources, vegetation and enrichment, and also provide enough space for the animal to exhibit natural behaviour, such as climbing, swimming and foraging. Toys and puzzles are given to the animals to help reduce stress and provide stimuli, and there's a regular rotation of enrichment and providing new enrichment to help animals stay engaged and to reduce boredom. They house animals together, either solitarily, in pairs, or in groups, depending on species-specific social structures to minimize stress. These group interactions are monitored and to ensure harmonious dynamics and to avoid conflict. Zoos play a vital role in public education. They make an emphasis on the need to protect endangered species and the habitat, and also to prevent non-endangered species from becoming endangered. They inspire individuals who visit to take action in protecting natural habitats such as nature reserves nearby. And they help motivate visitors to see themselves as part of the bigger picture in safeguarding biodiversity and the role they can help play. Animal welfare and research is a shared responsibility between researchers, institutions and society. Adherence to ethical guidelines and investing in alternative methods ensure that scientific advancements respect animal welfare. The 3 R's form the foundation of ethical research practices to improve welfare standards. Replace is to use alternatives where possible, such as computer models, cell cultures, or in vitro techniques. Reduce is to minimize the use of animals, but also help maintain reliable results through more efficient experimental designs. And refine is to enhance experiment procedures to reduce pain, suffering, and distress in the animals used, which overall improves their welfare. Advancements are tissue engineering, such as biological tissues for testing, reduces the need for animals. Organ on a chip stimulates human organs for drugs testing and disease modelling, and computer models replicates biological processes. There's a role of organisations such as the University's Federation for Animal Welfare, which supports the development of the 3 R's, resulting in significant improvements in animal welfare in research. Animal rights group PETA are advocates for the ethical treatment of animals and promote the use of alternatives and advancements in these. There are, however, ethical challenges and dilemmas. Some experiments require invasive techniques which necessitates justification and strict adherence to protocols to minimize pain and suffering. Also, using genetically modified animals can result in unintended consequences, increasing the potential suffering and pain of the animal used, which creates unforeseen circumstances. Many countries have established laws and regulations for the welfare in sports. In the UK, animals are covered by the Animal Welfare Act, which provides a legal framework to ensure the welfare of animals in sports. There are strenuous demands put on the animals in sporting events. Some bring benefits to the animal, whilst others cause harm and suffering. Equestrian sports such as dressage, racing and jumping show a bond between human and horse. However, overtraining causes injuries through tiredness, the use of a horse whip causes pain and distress in the horse, and also the use of performance-enhancing drugs poses health risks. The International Federation for Equestrian Sports is a global organisation which promotes the welfare of horses in competitive sports and establishes rules and standards. Greyhound racing, the breeding and training is to prioritise speed, and this compromises the welfare of the dogs. And also the poor living conditions they are kept in, coupled with the rigorous training, results in injuries. There is uncertain fate of the animals in these industries after they are unable to compete, which causes welfare issues and the possible death of the animal. Animals must be kept in adequate living conditions with enough space, enrichment and social interactions, meeting physical and psychological needs with regular vet care to monitor health. Training and handling using positive reinforcement to encourage ethical training which fosters behaviours that benefit the animal and forms a stronger bond. Proper handling which helps ensure the animals are not overworked or overexerted beyond their capabilities to reduce the risk of injury and also prevents fatigue. Advocacy from organisations such as RSPCA and BVSA helps to promote humane treatment of animals in sporting industries. They have enforcement powers so that if welfare needs are not met, they can intervene by stopping trainers from competing and remove the animals from these harmful environments. Behaviour patterns of different species within captive breeding programs and the wild. The importance of captive breeding programs is that it preserves endangered species, it gives a maintenance of genetic diversity, so it prevents inbreeding through managed breeding programs ensuring a healthy population. It also helps restore ecosystems, such as reintroducing wolves into Yellowstone National Park. And there are additional benefits where it educates the public, it provides research opportunities to help in future species management, and it acts as an emergency area where it helps in the events of climate change, habitat loss, or disease. Amur leopards exemplify the delicate balance between species preservation, ethical care in conservation and rewilding efforts. Conservation and the understanding of this species' behaviour patterns are crucial to ensure their survival and improve their quality of life. Providing environments that mimic their natural habitat is needed in providing stimuli and reducing stress. In the wild, they are solitary hunters with large territories, up to 500 kilometres for males. They hunt by stalking their prey and then caching food for later in trees out of reach of other hunters or predators. They use scent markings through spraying urine and scat droppings, and they also use vocalizations such as roars and growls and the baring of teeth to claim and defend territories or also deter intruders. In captivities, these territorial behaviours are similar to that in the wild, where they use scent marking to establish the territory. If they are housed in pairs, the more dominant individual will assert itself during feeding. Having activities such as hiding food around the enclosure, having a water source for swimming and drinking helps provide enrichment to exhibit their natural behaviours. Amur leopards also use body language to communicate with others or their caregivers through facial expressions and posture to convey aggression, submission or interest. Classical training is where the Amur leopard associates caregivers with food and positive reinforcement. Operant conditioning is through positive reinforcement for medical purposes by rewarding cooperation during health checks. Females are the main parental source for cubs. They will groom, defend, and teach the young how critical survival skills, such as bringing live prey to teach hunting skills. Their courtship and mating is intricate, where males and females use both vocalizations and olfactory methods to communicate readiness to mate. Red pandas in captivity require climbing structures and ample space to replicate their arboreal lifestyle, as they use their agility to climb trees to avoid predators and to forage for bamboo leaves, so their closures should mimic this, as well as offering safety features such as escape routes to reduce stress. Mimicking their natural foraging behaviours helps to stimulate the pandas, reducing stress and frustration. Red pandas will associate caregivers with a positive experience, such as when given food. If they hear the tin being opened, they will approach the caregiver. Through operant training, a red panda is rewarded for standing on a scale to monitor its weight. Their communication methods are varied. They use whistles and squeals to communicate or signal danger. Red pandas also use scent marking through excretions in urines or scent glands to establish territories by marking trees or branches. Their body language consists of tail postures, body movements, and facial expressions. They will puff up their fur on their body and tail to make themselves appear larger if threatened. Females are the main parental caregivers for cubs, but if housed in pairs, however, a male will help. The female provides safety for the cubs, grooming, nursing, and providing survival skills. During mating, the males will follow the females using her scent marks to establish if she's ready to mate. For orcas, understanding and managing their complex pod interactions in captivity helps to maintain the mental well-being. Stimulating cooperative hunting techniques helps the orcas exhibit their natural hunting behaviors. So if they're housed alone in captivity, they can be trained by chasing a ball thrown into the water by the caregiver. In the wild, orcas have strong matrilineal pods, with a dominant matriarch or female, often of various generations from grandmother, her daughters, and their offspring, and they travel and hunt together. They have cooperative hunting techniques where they use strategies such as creating waves to knock seals off of ice flues. In the wild, they fight for dominance, especially the males. Females, however, in their pods are very defensive of their young and will put themselves between the calves and the threat. In captivity, as orcas are very social, they will form strong bonds with their trainers, so will respond to trainers using whistle signals and commands during sessions, and this forms their classical conditioning. A trainer will also reward for operant conditioning to train the orca for medical procedures. Orcas use clicks, whistles, and pulse calls in the form of echolocation as ways of communicating. This helps them navigate and locate each other and prey in the dark waters. Using breaching, tail slapping, and synchronized swimmings are other forms of communication in orcas. They do have limited olfactory cues, however. As orcas live in pods, the care of calves falls to the females. They provide food, protection, and guidance for the young, teaching hunting skills and social cues. During mating, they engage in elaborate rituals which includes vocalizations and displays of strength and agility. In conclusion, the reality of species extinctions demands urgent and sustained attention. The loss of over 160 species in just a decade serves as a strong warning. While captive breeding programs with their success stories such as the Amur leopard, Przewalski's horse, and the black-footed ferret offers a lifeline, they are only one piece of the puzzle. These programs, using animal welfare standards such as the Animal Welfare Act, are vital for maintaining the genetic diversity and enabling future reintroductions into the wild. However, true conservation extends beyond captivity. It requires a bigger, multifaceted strategy that encompasses protected areas, legislative actions, and worldwide public education. Ultimately, preventing further extinction hinges on our collective commitment to conservation. As Mahatma Gandhi once wisely stated, the greatness of a nation and its moral progress can be judged by the way its animals are treated. We must translate this wisdom into actions. We must support conservation efforts, advocating for stronger protection of animals and foster a culture of respect for all living creatures. The time to act is now, to ensure a thriving planet rich in biodiversity for generations to come. Thank you very much.